Welcome back to Business Success. I'm Chloe James for RFI Group. Text the businesses you love is the catchphrase of tonight's second business doing some really cool things in the retail tech space. A few months ago, if you remember, I spoke to Nick Molnar of Afterpay, and tonight I welcome another team playing in a pretty similar space. It seems the combination of retail and technology is ever increasing, and I'm pleased to welcome Doron, Ostrin and Dean Steingold, co-founders of retail messaging platform Urge. Guys, welcome to the show. Doron, Dean, I've got to make sure I get this right the whole time. I thought we'd just kick off Urge, and I know it has been known as Urge app as well, Dean. You obviously are one of the founders. If you just tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do when you created the business.
Sure, so it's actually quite a funny story. Doron and I met about 4.5 years ago. I was living overseas at the time, moved back to Australia, and our girlfriends decided let's have a dinner the first night I was back, and that was the first time I'd ever met Doron. And at that dinner we actually came up with Urge, which is a pretty crazy story. So we had a company called Productify that we founded that night, and from Productify, from the learnings, we learned that every business wants to be able to be contacted, but you can only phone them or email them. And we thought, you know, everyone's just texting their family and friends all day. Why can't you text a business? And that's how Urge was born.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great proposition. When I was sort of researching your business for the show, I think it's a really interesting business. And often you have just a little quick question you want to ask. Things like social, sort of Instagram and Facebook are making it more contactable to contact businesses, but you're obviously doing it. Working in a team as a partnership, I might come to you, Doron, on this part. Obviously, great story about meeting and got your girlfriends to thank for your business. But working as a team in a partnership, how do you work together? So is one of you kind of the technology side and one of you is more business lead, or how does that work?
There's the three of us as the founders, myself, Dean and Daniel, the 3 Ds.
Oh gosh, okay. I'm glad you
had it hard.
I get very confused.
And the nice thing with the setup that we have is that Dean is non-technical, sticks to the operations side of the business and is really the voice of the customer. So it's nice to have that person that can actually understand in real layman's terms without kind of being clouded by the technical side. And then you have Daniel on the complete opposite, which being CTO of the company is totally across everything technical, and I kind of, I guess, float between the two to work to kind of be that translation layer and make sure that it's all talking properly. But we do overlap in some ways, and some people say to us, well, do you cope? How does it works really well that we can understand each other in that way, and we all know our space. Obviously, it's been 4.5 years now, so I should hope we know how to get along.
Yeah, hope you know how it's working. Dean, I guess onto that, just so you've got the three of you. How does the rest of the team see it? It's obviously a technology business. Often they're quite sort of slim and streamlined. Is it the same for you guys? Yeah,
ours is a pretty flat structure. I mean, although there's the 3 co-founders, if you came to office, you would have no idea who is a co-founder, who is an employee. We all work. Everyone has their jobs. Everyone is obviously employed for their specific role, but everyone has now become really good friends. We all go out most weeks for lunch at least once a week. Everyone sort of overlaps. Every time we walk into office, a lot of our devs are sort of leading over the other one's desk and helping them out, and everyone's asking everyone questions. So everyone has their skills, but they definitely, it's more of like a family structure in our office instead of people come to work, do their job, go home. A lot of our guys hang out socially now. We love it. That's why to us the work is it's 24/7, but it's not really work. Everything we do, like we're actually saying on the way here, that every restaurant Doron and I go to on the weekends, because obviously our girlfriends, now wife and fiance, we're always together, and we try to go early so we can go speak to the restaurant and get them on Urge, because we would have phoned them that morning and booked the restaurant and should be able to text them, so we make it part of our day-to-day life.
So across the retail space, so it's across sort of retail, food and beverage?
Any service, any place, any business that you speak to, if you actually think the businesses that you would phone or have gone onto a social media platform or Facebook message them, you should be able to just urge them, because it's easy. Take out your phone and send them a text message. So literally we have from lawyers to accountants to travel agents to hairdressers, cafes, literally across the board.
Yeah, I mean, technology is just where it's happening, isn't it?
Hopefully.
There's so much happening in your space. I guess maybe a little bit on for you, Doron. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about managing those stakeholder relationships. So how do you go out and, well, obviously you said you go to the restaurants, you go to the shops. What else does that look like? And do you have any advice for people out there who are wanting to create these really great stakeholder relationships like you have? You're working with some of the biggest retailers in Australia at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a top-down, bottom-up, anywhere you can approach.
Okay.
There's no right or wrong. I think the one thing that we've realised is around using you know, don't be shy to kind of use your networks. You've got to reach out and start with the people you know and the people they know. Just how, you know, Paul Greenberg got involved in our business, and one of the key reasons we kind of set up that structure was because of the networks he brought. And I think as we grow, we're always looking for those kinds of people who can open doors, because at the end of the day, I mean, you can have the best product in the world, but without getting to the right person in the business, you know, you'll always just try and get cold emails and they'll never reply to you. But speak to the right person at the right time, and all of a sudden everything's a yes.
I think that's a really good piece of advice there. And we had a chat before. I know Paul Greenberg quite well. You know, amazing sort of businessman there, and great to have people like him. And I know that you work with Harold Newman as well. Yes. So great people who are in those more senior positions, who've been around the block, who can facilitate those relationships. So looking for partners like that is obviously quite specific to you.
Yes, but I think the main thing is to not be shy. Go out there, speak to people, and openly discuss those potential relationships. We've got a few more similar kind of people in the works right now that obviously can't say exactly, but they bring different networks, whereas Paul and Harold are very focused on retail. You know, because Urge is, I mean, it's the yellow pages, it's a directory. We need everything.
Yep.
And the best way to do that is to bring on the right people.
And I think great that you said then, and something that I do hear from a lot of entrepreneurs on the show, is about talking to people and not being afraid to sort of share your idea. You would agree, Dean?
We tell, I mean, when we started Productify 4 years ago, we were very sort of cloudy around. We didn't really want to give the idea away. And one of the biggest lessons we learned is the more people that you speak to, the more advice they're going to give you. Obviously, you don't have to listen to all the advice, but you take it on board and you just decipher through it. We're very fortunate. The three founders, we're all very different. So we take on all the advice, and at the end of the day, even though we have investors, etc., we know if there's a decision to be made, if the three of us make it, 2 out of 3, you know, we go with that decision. 100% go with our gut every time. A lot of investors or advisors have, you know, they give us their 2 cents worth, which is amazing. But no one knows your business better than you. So if you stick to your guns and you really do what you believe and you just keep going, you just keep pushing all the time. That's why we, you know, so far so good, because the three of us make a decision, stick to it, and then we move on. We don't really think about it too much or think, did we make the right decision? Didn't we? We made a decision.
It's a commitment to a decision. Yeah, great. Managing growth, so you're talking about growing the business, and you are growing at a rate of knots. Challenges in that, and advice you'd give to others when they are growing something at such speed?
Definitely, obviously staff. You have to keep staffing up and finding the right staff and good staff. It's not just their ability, it's obviously how they fit in the culture of the business. Advice to startups or other people. I mean, we're fortunate. We have a lot of people coming to us and asking us, how did you start, or give me some advice. Obviously, you just go for it, but you definitely need to have good people around you, giving you good information, and then obviously having enough of a runway to keep going, because it doesn't happen overnight and takes triple as long as you think it's going to take. So if you only have enough money for 2 or 3 months, you know, you need to make sure you have for a year, because everything is longer, and the sales cycle, it's not as easy to get into businesses as you think it would be. But never give up.
Yeah,
try, keep going.
And it's easy. It's easy to fail, right? So you have to just keep going at it.
In the last 4 years, the reason why Urge is doing so well is we took a lot of our learnings from Productify, which is still great business, and we put that into Urge, because nothing is failing is the best experience we've ever learnt, and all the little things that have happened to us along the way got us to where we are.
Yeah. Perhaps onto that, just a little bit more on the technology piece, Doron, just to kind of pitch that to you. How do you see sort of this retail space and technology evolving over the next kind of 12 months, 5 years? I guess it's exponential, really.
Yeah, it's. I think there's been a lot of talk around click and collect and that side of the business, where everyone wants everything now, and that's never going to change. It's only getting shorter and shorter. You could leave here and you want to pick something up on the way home, and the technology to do that has just not been there at the moment. Stores don't know what they have in stock, what inventory they have. Try calling a shoe store and say, do you have this pair of Nikes? They'll say, hold on, I'll go check at the back, as opposed to typing into the computer. So I think those systems will catch up, but at the end of the day, irrelevant of the technology piece, there's also the human side, that people want to talk to people. Right now it's changing. You can walk into a store and someone says, can I help you? Say, no, I'm fine, and then you Google your question. But then you want to speak to someone to actually get the answer, and you want to do it in your own time. You don't want to do it when they come to you.
And via the channel that you want.
And that's exactly. People, you see a group of teenagers sitting having dinner, and they're all texting, and everyone says, oh, why are they texting? That's the way the world's going. You can't fight it. You've actually got to say, that's the way the world's going. I'm going to join it. My business is going to be able to be texted. You need to be able to text businesses. That's just how people are communicating. So we're just fitting right in the space, and I think the timing is perfect timing in the sense that it's only growing. There's new things coming out all the time around Facebook and Messenger and bots, and the whole industry is very hot. But at the end of the day, from a non-technical perspective, the customer just wants to talk to a business in the way they love, which is texting. Yeah. And that's exactly where we fit in.
That's really, really fantastic. Look, got to wrap up. I just wanted to very quickly finally ask you both, if you weren't running Urge, what would you be doing?
Running Urge.
Running Urge. I thought you might say that. But you're loving it? It's going well?
Yeah, couldn't think of anything else.
The joke in the office is always there's ups and there's downs, and the best days are the down days, because at least tomorrow will be an up day. On an up day, we know that's just a startup. That's the world of startups.
And you're loving startup culture?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's tough, but loving it.
Yeah, look, good luck, guys, and thank you. It sounds like you're doing amazing things.
Thank you.
I'm absolutely going to check it out. It's been the night of the South Africans tonight. I've had 3 on the show. That's it from me this evening. Thanks very much to my guests, and of course for watching at home, and look forward to seeing you next week. See you then.